Hi guys, it's Jeff here, the photographer's mentor, and in this video I'm going to be joined by Says Dolby Glover, who is a social media trainer, and she's going to be talking to us today about Instagram. Now, I know Instagram is really popular with photographers. I have to put my hand up and say that even though I have an Instagram account, I think I've got probably about 1,500, 2,000 followers on Instagram, I don't actually use it because most of my work, as you probably know, comes from LinkedIn. I do get a bit from Facebook, but even though I've got a 40,000 Facebook following, as anybody knows with Facebook, you really have to push Facebook to get the engagement. You know, unless you spend money on Facebook ads, you don't get a lot of engagement, even if you have a huge following. And then my other way of getting myself out there is, podcasts, webinars, and YouTube. So I do quite well from YouTube as well. So Says has got a really good PowerPoint presentation. It's about 17 slides, so it'll probably take us about 40 minutes in total. If you have any questions as we're going through, please do pop the questions in the comments, and then I can keep injecting in and asking Says the questions for you. Be interesting to know as well if you are using Instagram yourself. So if you have an Instagram account, how often do you use it? Do you get much business from it? Compared to LinkedIn, do you favor LinkedIn more than you favor Instagram? And what sort of return do you get for your efforts on Instagram? Because I always say that any social media is only as good as the returns that you get from it. So you've got to be making money, and you've got to be getting inquiries through for all the effort that you're putting in. So if you let me know in the comments if you have an Instagram account, how many followers you've got, how well is Instagram performing for you. If you do have any Instagram questions that we can pop to Says as we are going live, then feel free to pop them in the comments and let me know where you're watching from as well. So I'm going to bring Says into the live. Hi Says, how are you doing? So you're over in South Africa, aren't you? Oh, I think you're on mute at the moment.
How's that for smooth? Yeah, I am. I am in South Africa. Moved back recently, but I'm part of the UK British Forces Broadcasting Services social team, as well as being a photographer. But yes, so I am in sunny South Africa. It is boiling hot, not very nice at all.
But you could be here.
That's true. Yeah. Would you mind, because of the way I'm doing the screen, would you mind just letting me know if, like you said, let me know if there are any questions?
Yeah, certainly. Because if you've got your full PowerPoint deck, you'll not be able to see the screen, will you? So
that's exactly it. Yeah. Are we all good to go?
Yeah. If you've got your deck, just bring it up.
There we go. Can you see it?
Let's have a look. Yes. Perfect.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
Okay. So, like I said, I'm in a bit of a unique situation where I am a photographer. I do wedding photography predominantly, and a bit of newborn and studio photography and family photography. But I have a lovely day job where I work as a social media manager and teacher for the British Forces Broadcasting Services, BFBS. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. But just so you know, that the reason I am chatting here is that I am a little bit between the two worlds, which makes it great. So obviously I work for BFBS. So it stands for British Forces Broadcasting Services. Essentially, we do an awful lot to support the armed forces in the UK, from the broadcasting for the TVs in their rooms to radio to all sorts of stuff. And as part of the social team, we run the BFBS radio social media platforms, and we interact with that. And at the same time, we also teach. So the first thing we started teaching was a charitable program called SM Spouses. Essentially, we offer a full 11-week course for free to military spouses to help them get businesses, to get social media work, to help them promote their own businesses, whatever they need to just help. Because being a military spouse, I know from my own experience, it's very, very difficult because you're moving all the time. Yeah. Because that was so popular and so many other people wanted on it, we've actually started a program that I now run called Digital Culture. So I teach digital culture, and it is essentially the same thing as SM Spouses, but it's for anybody who wants to do it. So it's the paid for version. The funding of everything that we do in digital culture goes back into the charity program to help support the military spouses. So it's all very nice and, good, and we're all doing really, really good things. The really cheesy way to describe the course is a 0 to hero social media course. But it really is. I've had people come in with a screenshot, like literally a picture of they've taken a picture on a phone of whatever's on their screen and then scanned that and emailed it to me. I'm not entirely sure why, but all sorts of people come on from varying abilities from right in the beginning, people who've never ever looked at Facebook or Instagram or anything, through to somebody who was an Instagram pro on my last course. So, anybody can come on the course and they all benefit massively from it. I shall stop telling you so much about that. Should I tell you more? No. So on the course, we focus on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Obviously, today we're only really talking about Instagram, which is an incredibly beneficial platform for photographers, which I'm sure you are aware of. We talk about paid for ads, social media strategy. We use the same strategy as the MOD does, and massive corporations everywhere on how to do your marketing. We talk about managing your online community. So one of the things most people are scared of is how are you going to deal if somebody comes back with something negative. So we teach you how to do that. Finding your voice, which is very, very beneficial. What do you want your brand to sound like? And keeping it consistent. And now this part you guys probably won't need any help with, how to make really, really, really good content in minutes, from video to graphic content, editing, and the whole shebang. But like I said, that part you probably won't need any help with. So this is very, very briefly what I'm about. I decided to actually include a picture that I took. The other picture that's on the post was done by a wonderful photographer called Mary Bird up in the Scottish Highlands on a workshop in 2020. But this is me. I worked in social media for an awful lot longer than I have in photography. I ran a social media marketing business back when I lived back in South Africa over 10 years ago. So I've been going at it for a while. My main focus as a photographer is wedding photography. And the most important thing you need to realize about me at the moment is I sadly do not practice what I preach. So please don't go looking at my accounts and go, oh, wow, why is she even attempting to look at this? I've put barely anything into it since I moved over, put barely anything into it before, because my day job is social media marketing. So essentially, I don't feel like doing it when I finish. But I do know that it works, and I do know what works. You're more than welcome to have a look at our socials to see that we do, know exactly what we're doing. So if you're having a look at it, we're BFBS radio pretty much across the board. So I shall stop waffling about myself now. So as you know, Instagram is a visual platform. It is all about really, really good visual content, and it has to be really good visual content. The nice thing that photographers have above other people is we don't have to search for that content, because that content is our bread and butter. We make really good images, so Instagram should be where we're thriving. According to Instagram, it is the platform of visual dreams and the birthplace of no filter and #blessed. I think you will all know about filters and Instagram. I'm sure there's not a photographer on here who who's not had someone take their image and put an awful Instagram filter on it and upload it and tag them. It does make us all want to cry. It's not necessarily a bad thing, though. There are ways around that. Just FYI, just a comment like, oh, thank you so much. I love the filter you put on it. Something like that's absolutely fine. Again, I think you are aware that it's not like teaching people who don't deal with image editing on a daily basis. What you're looking at may or may not be filtered. Obviously, it's called a filter there and not a preset, like we like to call it. So when we say Instagram is almost beneficial, or it's vital to photographers, there is a reason for that. 90% of users follow a business, and they use Instagram to check up on that business, to research products and services. They will literally go on there. If they're looking, especially as a photographer, because they know that Instagram is the visual platform and they know that's where you're going to be. So they're going to be looking for photographers on Instagram. Firstly, if you're not there, they're not going to see you. If you're not active, they're not going to see you. So they are 100% there looking to get your services. You have to put yourself out there. And there are a lot of cases when we're dealing with social media, I'll often say, don't put all of your effort into every platform. Have a look at your audience and see where they are, what they're doing. Sometimes if you're dealing with a certain demographic that's never on Twitter, well, then there's no point in putting a lot of money and effort into Twitter. Unfortunately for you, fortunately for you, photography, all of your audience is definitely going to be sitting on Instagram. There are very few people who aren't going to be on Instagram looking. So you already know you've got that extra step that your audience is there. It's sitting there waiting for you. You just have to reach them. 50% of users say they're more interested in a brand when they see it featured in ads on Instagram. So that already tells you that just being on Instagram alone, having adverts in Instagram, being active in Instagram is going to, it will bring you more revenue if you're doing it properly. And I 100% agree with what Jeff said. You have to, there is no point in doing social media unless it's bringing you extra money, essentially.
Yeah.
And that you're pushing your business out there. There's no point in throwing so much effort out there to get 100,000 followers on Instagram and none of them are going to buy anything from you. You've got it. I'm going to go into it in a minute, but it's really important to realize that social media is not there just so you've got an appearance. You have to be using it properly, and you have to be using it in a way to generate revenue.
Definitely. And I think, sometimes it's a good idea to, it's better to do maybe 2 social medias than try and do 5 social medias.
Absolutely.
Focus on, exactly. Like I said, my focus now is LinkedIn, YouTube and Facebook, and then my other stuff is podcasts and webinars. So I moved away. I did have Pinterest when I had my weddings. I briefly looked at TikTok, but I know people who are doing really, really well on TikTok. So you've got to find your market, haven't you?
That's exactly it. I think with TikTok, it also is very much a personality thing. Some people are comfortable doing those kind of videos, or any kind of video. They're comfortable bringing out the phone and taking a video. As a photographer, I like to be behind it, behind the camera. So I find TikTok a little bit difficult. The only thing I have on TikTok is a TikTok for my puppy. That's about it. But yeah, so I think, like you're saying, don't go across 5 different platforms. And there are so many different social platforms that we don't realize. Like WhatsApp is a social media platform. YouTube, like you said, is a social media platform. But you need to make sure that you put your money where your audience is. And as a photographer, Instagram is definitely a platform you can't ignore. Most cases, I would never say that to people. I'd say, your audience best, but Instagram is where your audience is. And like Jeff, I'd say LinkedIn too, and probably Facebook. The others, it depends on where you're at. Like you said, there are quite a lot of people who are doing really, really well on TikTok. And that's fantastic. I know quite a few people who are absolutely, raking the money in because of it. But Instagram is, I honestly would be very, very hesitant to ignore Instagram. So what this is saying here is the average Instagram post receives almost 15,000 likes. So that's great. If you were just starting out, you aren't going to be receiving that, and that's fine. Or if you're just revamping your content, it's okay not to have that. What is important is the people that are engaging with you are the people that you want to, and the people who are likely to buy from you or to give you more money. So the most important part about Instagram, in looking at it across the board in comparison to other social media platforms, is it's a lot kinder. The algorithm's a lot kinder than Facebook's. So you are allowed to post a lot. So essentially, spam your heart out. The more content you post, the more chance you have of being seen. Now, in this respect, I'm talking about the content that goes on your grid. So the grid is the place, your profile, essentially. If you're thinking along the same lines as, it's essentially your profile. The stuff on there needs to be your best stuff. Your top photographs that you want people to see straight away. Show exactly what you can do there. That's where you get to, shine. But you've got another area where you can post all the time, and it can be raw content. It can be natural. It can be fun. It can be silly. So while you want it to be good across the board, on your grid, it needs to be fantastic. But the more content you post, the more chance of it being seen. So this is the area that I think a lot of people are missing out on. Stories are huge. Now, I like them for a reason that most people don't like them. I like stories for people who aren't used to using social media and who aren't used to going on Instagram and who are a little bit awkward and uncomfortable, and they're not so sure about what they're doing. Stories is a fantastic place for you to get used to it because they're only around for 24 hours unless you choose differently. So you can go on there, you can do something silly, you can, because remember, you're not going to make a big mistake.
Yeah.
Social media is not out there waiting to get you. Yes, you do get keyboard warriors, but provided you avoid anything massively, offensive, and you will, depending on what area you're into, what industry you're into. If you're a boudoir photographer, you're probably going to get a couple of dodgy comments. Not that should happen, it definitely shouldn't, but it's something to be aware of. And it's important to realize that it's okay, obviously not okay for people to make comments like that, but as an account or as a person, it's okay to A, make mistakes, and B, go back to these people and go, I'm sorry, I disagree with what you're saying. Or just have that conversation with people. It's not a case of you've made a big mistake, you need to just shut everything down. So stories are fantastic. There's over 500 million Instagram accounts using stories every single day at the moment. If you don't know, stories are the little circles at the top of your homepage when you go in, and you can swipe through them and see like about 15 seconds of nice video of people. It doesn't have to be fantastic looking masterpieces. These are essentially, you have people who literally put up their phone on like a selfie stick and have a chat over a cup of coffee to their audience. That's fine. You've found something, you've got a great idea for your next photo shoot. Talk to people about it in your stories.
It's all about building relationships, isn't it? And when you just said there about, negative comments, and I've had over the years, I've got quite a big following on LinkedIn. So I've got over 30, probably about 80,000 followers in total across my platforms. But even then, I have had a few really negative comments. And one of the big things I say about, if you get anything negative, just like you said, say, that's totally fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Unfortunately, I disagree with you on this point, but we'll just leave it at that, because let them look like the idiot and you look professional. I would never have anybody drag me into an argument or drag me into comments that made me look like the idiot. And it's funny when that has happened in the past. I've had other people actually jump on the other person and get stuck in, and so I'll leave them to it, So.
Yeah, you can literally just walk away and let the other keyboard warriors deal it for you. To be honest, I think one of the worst things you can do in social media is hide a comment, hide somebody's negative review or anything like that, or go back negatively. We often post stuff like LGBTQ plus stories, or various different things we'll post, and you will get people coming back, and we just go, actually, this is our policy on it, this is what we believe in, take it or leave it. We're not going to take that negativity here, and people are very happy with that. They will come in support of that. Most people then keep quiet straight away, and they don't keep fighting it because they know they're wrong. If you do have someone who comes on and has a bit of a niggle about something you've done, let's say you've done a shoot for them and you were a day late delivering, I'm sure everyone's been there, and you do get some people who they're just never going to be happy. You get those clients, don't you? Oh, I want my double chin gone, I want my eyes to be sharper, can you make my waist thinner, I don't like this angle. You're going to sometimes get them, and sometimes they're going to get onto Facebook or Instagram. Facebook's a little bit worse for it than Instagram. But sometimes they'll do that. And if you just go back to them and go, whatever the story is, I'm really sorry you feel that way. I want my clients to be really happy. What can I do to help you? And you keep that story out in the open.
Yeah.
And people love that.
And I think one of the biggest things for stuff like that, I used to have a food pub, and what pubs are like with a like a Facebook account, and people can be like, the chicken was overcooked and stuff like that. And whenever I got a negative comment, I would just say, I'm really sorry that we didn't live up to service this time. Please do give me a ring, and then I put the pub number there. I would get them off Facebook because I didn't want the conversation to be aired publicly. And then when I got them onto the phone, I could say, right, what can I do to put this right? Sorry you had such a bad experience. But I think carrying the conversation out in front of everybody else, especially if somebody's annoyed. They can be playing up just for everybody else, So I think get them away, get them into a conversation, get them into messages or into an email, and then just say, look, what can I do to rectify this?
And a nice way to, and then bring it out afterwards, is if you've done that, as long as you keep it positive. I mean, you're going to keep it positive anyway, but as long as you keep it positive online on your social media platform, after you've dealt with them privately, go back on there and go, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to help you. I know that we've done this for you, but if there's anything else, please just let us know. So the next person coming on there can go, oh, wow, they actually did help that guy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put my hand up and say, I am terrible for looking at companies and brand social media accounts. And I don't sit there. I'll literally go into someone's Facebook page and look at their reviews and look at the negative ones. I want to see the negative ones because I want to see how they responded.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's really important to just keep everything out in the open. I did slightly digress there, though. My bad. So 58% of users say they're more interested in a brand after seeing it in a story. I think quite often it's very difficult for us as photographers to see ourselves as brands, but we are. If you don't have a brand yet, definitely work on it. Work on your colors, your fonts, everything, and always try and stick to that brand. And if you think of yourself as a brand, you're more likely going to be putting yourself out there in a way that's going to help you get money. And I hate to, there are nicer ways of saying it, make a profit, increase your revenue. I like to say get money because that's what I want. So if you're thinking of yourself as a brand, you're thinking of yourself as a business, you're much more likely to get a much bigger turnover and, just succeed a lot more across your social media.
Totally. And I think, if you want to charge a premium price, you've got to have a premium brand. People will put a perceived value into the way you look, and then your fonts, your colors, your logo, your branding, and then instantly say, right, I am paying, in their mind, mentally, this brand is worth this much. And all the big brands that we follow, everything that looks premium, we have an elevated, preconceived judgment of how much that is worth. And that's why we pay more money for designer brands, because we believe that brand is worth money, even though it's probably produced for the same price in in a factory that produces the lesser brands.
I think it's the same. Always you go back to when everybody starts out in photography and they start charging 50 quid for a shoot, and everyone's like, no, you're ruining the industry. But it's the same thing. You need to charge. You do need to charge. And if you want to charge, you need to make it look like it's worth charging for. And so, brands, I'm sure you probably cover that a lot. It's really, 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 really important. And it's not difficult to do, and it can be really fun. So make sure, I won't chat lots about brands, but I do touch on it later again. But another, because we're talking about posting all the time on Insta, another way to do that to make life a lot easier is to share it to stories every time you post. So if you've posted a shoot that you've done, a recent shoot, whether it's a wedding, whether it's portrait, whether it's headshots, pets, anything you do, next time you post, just share it straight to stories. There's a lovely little arrow right there. It makes it so easy. You can add some nice little music to it. You can even add a link to your website. There's so many things you can do with stories, but make sure that you do share every single post to your stories. So talk about brand continuity. See, I always go ahead of myself. So you want to make sure you've got a polished look. So we need to make sure that across the board, across all of your social media, not just Instagram, but definitely Instagram, you want to make sure that you've got that brand continuity. So you're using the right fonts, the right colors, and that voice. On social media, it is so important to figure out, and especially on Instagram, so important to figure out what you want your voice to be. Now, the voice is not, it's not an idea of a company. The voice is your voice, essentially, as a photographer, unless you've got a lot of photographers underneath you, but still, it could still be your voice. You want it to represent what you want your clients to see and what you want your clients to have. In my respect, I am never going to try and be a cold corporate person, because I am the kind of person who falls over her feet every 5 seconds. So my voice is a little bit funny, a little bit, make fun of myself, because that's what I'm going to do. And I keep that voice across the board. I don't go too silly, and I don't go too professional. It's kind of in between with me. So you've got to do that for yourself and sit back and figure out how you want to be seen and what kind of voice you want your brand to have. Once you've done that, you just go, there's so many different editing apps. And I will give you a tip on this one. Try not to get too complicated with it. As a photographer, it is very, very easy to, it is very, very easy to sit in Photoshop for hours or Illustrator and create this really, really, really complex thing for one tiny little Instagram post. Do yourself a favor, get yourself onto something like Canva. Have a look at the,
brilliant.
it's so quick and easy. I mean, you literally just put Instagram and you get this lovely little square thing that you can do, or a story, and you can just change the colors to your branding colors. Now, this isn't probably appropriate for this audience, but if you are a charity, you do get Canva does give it to you for free, which is very nice. And the pro, obviously, it's
even the premium Canvas are only about £10 per month, isn't it? So Canva.com, if nobody's heard of it before, Canva.com, absolutely fantastic for not just your social media posts, but your brochures, your price lists, everything.
Yeah, I mean, I did all my pricing on there. Any kind of, if you're doing a mini session, everything like that is so quick and easy on there. And with the pro version, you can literally just upload your branding to it, and you never have to do it again. It's just sitting there. It's fantastic. So yeah, have a look at that. That will create. Some people don't like to just do pictures on Instagram. A lot of people will like to do pictures, and then they'll have a nice little branded square that's got some information on it. Maybe it's about a mini session. Maybe it's a tips and tricks for what to look best in your next session. What to remember on your wedding day, that kind of a thing. You can have those going throughout your grid too, can make it a bit more interesting. You don't have to do that, but it's entirely up to you. And this kind of an editing app will make life a lot easier for you. Now, this is the thing that is probably the most difficult to get out of your head, to forget. Everybody is after as many followers as possible. And I don't know if you remember when social media marketing really became a thing. Everyone was selling followers. You could buy 100 million followers. Oh, it's ridiculous. And why? It just looked silly. Everyone knew what you were doing. Now, the thing is you don't want 100 million followers if none of those followers are going to turn into a sale. What you want is everybody going onto your Instagram, to everyone you want to, everyone who could potentially spend money on you, going onto your Instagram, engaging. Every time they engage, people see more. People, other people will see it. It will get further around. It will get to the right audience, and that's what's going to have a massive impact on your business. It makes no difference whatsoever to have 100,000 followers and none of them are going to be the right followers for you. It's not that hard to figure out what to do on this respect. So what you need to do is you look into who you want to market to. And I say that not as a case of look at your audience now. You might want to continue marketing to them. That's fine. But if you're looking at raising your prices later, or you're looking at maybe different angle with your photography business, think about who you want to market to. Get onto Instagram and analyze them. Have a look for a specific person that you know fits that bill. What do they do on Instagram? What are they using it for? What are they posting? What are they engaging in? And market specifically for them. So every time you create content, you create it for them. Because content that's made for them will lead to them engaging more. Them engaging more will mean that more people like them will follow you, which will eventually lead to an increase in sales. So it's all well and good having that lovely number at the top, but it doesn't make a difference if they're not the right people. So here's a couple of Instagram tips for you. The one thing I want to make sure you do already is, if you're on Instagram on your account, please go into your settings, go down to the account part, and make sure you're sitting at as a professional account rather than a personal account.
And if anybody wants to put their Instagram accounts in here in the comments, so feel free to drop your Instagram URL into the comments here, and then we can all jump on and support each other anyway. So it'd be good to have a look at your account.
Yeah, and if we got time, I'm quite happy to have a look and just go, let's try this, maybe swap that around. So a couple of, so in terms of the accounts, you need to make sure that you are a professional account, because you have access to a lot more interesting things and helpful things. Number one, it is insights. You're able to actually see what your followers are doing with your, with your content. And so that is vital. It is really, really important to see what's working and what's not. So Reels, I'm sure you know a lot about Reels. I'm hoping lots of you are using them. Reels is like the Instagram's version of TikTok. And because it's essentially Instagram's version of TikTok, they really, really like it. So if you use it, they tend to show it a lot more. But it's also really great because Reels allows you to search more, to jump on trends. There's loads of different things you can do with it. But if you use Reels, I would use it as much as you can, really. It's fantastically useful. But when you are posting on Instagram, one of the biggest ways to get seen is to vary what you post. So essentially, I slightly contradicted myself there. You want to switch up the media. So you want to not just sit with photographs. You want to sit with reels, carousels. That's when you've got lots of different images, and videos. What you can do is, if you don't want all of those on your grid, you don't have to worry, because you can actually remove them from your grid afterwards. So you can, if you've done a reel and you're like, well, I like the grid, I like the reel, I want people to be able to find the reel. And if they come to my profile and they're looking for a reel, then yeah, they can see that. But I don't want it sitting on my grid, because I just want my images on my grid.
Yeah.
Once you've shared a reel, you can just remove it. There's just a little button. I think it's like 3 dots next to it, and you can just remove it from your grid. It'll still sit under your reel section. You'll still be able to be found. You're still on those trends. Everything's working great. Also, just remember, when you're doing a reel, always make sure you also share it to your stories. And the stickers. Use your stickers. Don't make it messy, but you can use stickers and make it really interesting. I'm just going to go ahead one quickly to double check that I'm not getting ahead of myself. No. Okay. Right. So with reels and with stories, there's 2 different things we can do. You can have it essentially messy, where you've got all of these different stickers on a story or on a reel. You don't really want that. But then, especially with reels, you want to be able to be found. So in your stickers, you can see on the right hand side here, that is an updated version. So it's from today. You can tag a location, which is great. So if you're a photographer in Hampshire, you can tag Basingstoke. You can tag, a place that you've been to, any of the, a local nature reserve, anything like that. You can tag it there. And that means that anybody with reels, if anyone's looking for that location or looking around that location, up you come as a photographer in that location. So that's very useful. Being said, you're also going to have that big square on your reel, which isn't so great. Now, the ways around that, I didn't want to try and attempt to share my phone screen on here and show you how to do it, because the amount of time that glitches is ridiculous. And that's on Teams, not on here, but I don't trust it. So what you can do is you minimize it. So you do your little pinchy fingers to make it as small as possible, and you literally drag it across the screen. Now, some people will tell you that will no longer make you shareable or find searchable through that location on Reels, and that's not right. Unless you bin it in the little recycle bin at the bottom, you'll be able to be found. So you can do that essentially with everything on there. So you can hashtag as many times as you want to, and you can minimize it and scroll it off. What you could also do is just add text as a hashtag, and they've got a lovely little eyedropper tool, so you can change it to the same color as the picture that you've got in the background, or the video in your background, so it's not too, it's not noticeable. There are so many different things you can do on there, but one of the safest ways is always to layer. So if you've got a logo and you want to put your logo on there, you can put lots of stuff behind your logo. Just make sure you do your logo last, and then it'll be on the top. So that way it's a bit sneaky, but there's nothing worse than having a reel that's got like 18 different stickers on it. It's just messy. It's not great. At least this way you get to jump on some trends. You get to jump on locations, and it's not massively messy. There is one that I would do. When you're tagging someone in a story or you're tagging someone in a reel, I find it rude to hide that bit, because essentially you're helping their exposure. So, I mean, it's up to you. It's your choice. But someone might be like, they'll get notified that they've been added, mentioned, and not then have their name there is a bit meh. So it's always great just to keep that one visible. You can keep it small, but visible and readable at the bottom. It's not something, just, it's a case of being respectful and nice. While we are talking about reels, your reels you can then change you can share to stories. And if anybody is mentioned in a story, they get a direct message, like an inbox message essentially, that tells them they've been mentioned. And there's a lovely little button that they just have to press once that then goes and shares your story to theirs. So it's a very nice way of just increasing your exposure, essentially for free with not a lot of effort. So like I was saying, with Reels, the engagement is strong because Instagram really likes it. It is really easily searchable. Have a look at current trending songs on that day. If you try and add music, there's I think it's a discover button. It might be called for you, but I think it's discover. And those ones will be the trending ones of the day. Sometimes they're a little bit more apt, like specifically for you, but most of the time they are the trending ones of the day, and you'll be jumping onto a trend where people are looking for that. For Reels, have that music, they can, they'll come across yours. Then, like I said, layering and using colors and locations and tagging accounts are really, really, really good ways of increasing your ability to be found, and for tagging and for increasing your engagement and people seeing you. The other thing is, I'm being a hypocrite here. Like I said, I do not practice what I preach, but all of the best photographers I know do this. Tag your gear. Tag Nikon, Canon, Sony, whoever it is. It doesn't always work. It doesn't make a difference. And I don't even think you need to actually have, their name there, because everyone knows. So it's one case I think you should be allowed to, hide it. But so many of my photographer friends have absolutely nailed it simply by doing that.
And there's another thing. I mean, I was speaking to Annabelle last week, Annabelle DeFlux, who's an ambassador for Sigma in the States. And she said, and because we were talking after the live, she said, she was approached by Sigma. So they were aware that she was tagging in their gear, that she was saying she was using the kit. And they approached her. And I know a lot of the companies, I know some of the marketing budgets and some of the payments they give out for ambassadors, it's not small amounts of money. It's good amounts of money if you get taken up as an ambassador. And I know from two of the big camera manufacturers of speaking to them last year that their budgets have shifted considerably to put money into influencer marketing. So from away from printed press into people, because it's much better somebody else talking about their products than themselves talking about the products, because it sells better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I look at the gear that I have, is because I looked at my favorite photographers and they said what they were using. Literally that. And when you said Sigma, I absolutely adore Sigma. That's like, my favorite. But my mate was just given a brand new Nikon mirrorless, just like that, because she's now an ambassador, and literally she became an ambassador through tagging them on Instagram. And they use it, like you're saying, a lot of money goes into that, and it works. So, and let's face it, if you're walking around saying you're an ambassador of the actual brand, that's also going to increase your revenue, because people are going to be like, oh well, I've got a session with someone who actually Nikon really, really like. That sounds really, really corny, but you get what I mean. This is another. I've realised I've waffled a bit, so I'll try not to go too fast, but. This is another thing that's really, really useful. Now, when Instagram obviously was a massive hashtag area right in the beginning, but now luckily you can actually search without having hashtags on Instagram. Now, that's fantastic and it's really useful, but it's still really, really important to use them, especially in your bios. So in your little about you blurb right in the beginning, you need to make sure that it says, first off, that it says exactly what you do, and if you're location based, where you are. You don't want it very wordy. They don't give you a lot of space anyway, but you don't want it wordy. What you do want is your hashtags in there. So you want something like Hampshire photographer, Surrey wedding photographer, or something like that you want there. So 1 or 2, 3 at max, I'd say, unless they're really, really small ones. And I've just noticed my appalling typo on there. My bad. So make sure that your hashtags are in your bio so that people can. So once somebody clicks on a hashtag, you're going to come up essentially. Now, when you're posting, you speak to all different sorts of people, and some people will say don't post lots of hashtags. Some people say do post lots of hashtags. Some people say put 10 dots before you post a hashtag. I still do the dots, even though I know I shouldn't. Well, it's not a case you shouldn't. It just doesn't make much of a difference. When you are looking at hashtags for a post, so you're posting an image or a session, make sure you use a good mix of different ones. So it's all well and good using photographer or British photographer or US photographer. There's going to be 101 million people using that. The chances of you actually being seen are very slim. Using Hampshire photographer or Hampshire newborn photographer, you're much more likely to get seen. So, but try and use a mix of different them. So 1 week, use a load of a handful of medium-sized hashtags. The next week, use hashtags that are in the millions. The next week, hashtags are in the 100,000s. When I'm talking about people, 100,000 people are using them essentially. So that's what you want to just keep it as a mix. And then once you do that, when you go back to your insights later on, you can look at a post and go, that did really well. Or a reel, that did really, really, really well. And you can have a look at what hashtags are common, your common denominators there. And another really slightly cheeky, but very good way to do it is to have a look at your competitors and see what they're using. Especially if you're location based, that makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. And let's be fair, everybody does it, so they know you're going to do it, so it's not that sneaky anyway. Now this is if you come on my course, you'll probably this will probably make you want to just puke because I say it so often. I did not coin this phrase. A usability consultant called Steve Krug did. I don't know how to pronounce his name, to be fair, but don't make me think as a principle that you need to use across everything in your marketing. People don't like having to think. You need to make sure that you make things really simple. You make your call to action really clear. So even on Instagram, you want a session with me, click the link in the bio. Something that will tell them straight away. You don't want to waffle lots. Sometimes it's okay if you're like a blogger or if you've had this really cool session and this really interesting thing happened. You can get away with it more on Instagram than you can with, let's say, Facebook. But try and keep it as simple and as small as possible. And it's something I struggle with badly because you can tell I waffle quite a lot. But with everything from your website to everything that you do when you're dealing with people and every time you're creating a post on anything, just think the words "don't make me think" and make sure that you're not making your audience think. Keep it short, keep it clear, keep it really easy to understand. Another really important principle to remember is, and especially with Instagram and with social media, but Instagram heavily so, there's not a one-size-fits-all approach. As much as it's nice me coming on and telling you these tips and tricks, they might not all work for you. You've got to keep trying. Research, test, and keep going back and test it again until you hit that magic result. And if you keep trying, you definitely will. If you look at some of these people who have got, they've monetized Instagram in a way that just blows your mind, they didn't just walk into that. They also didn't just take a course and walk into that. They tried really hard. They kept trying it again, trial and error until they got what they needed. And the way you're going to do that, and a lot quicker than any other way, is through your insights. So just keep an eye on your insights on Instagram. You're going to see so much, and it will cut down the testing time ridiculously. So one of the things that we discussed is uploading images from our computer. And how that's very, very difficult on Instagram. Well, typically now it's not. Now you can do it. So that's made my photographer heart quite happy. So I've gone from the bottom up. But if you are uploading a high-res image before, you had to go into developer tools or however you wanted to do it, all sorts of different ways of doing it, unless you wanted to go through your phone. But I always like to upload it straight from a computer, and just to have that button now makes life so much easier. So just so you know, you can do that now. Seeing as I was going from the bottom up, I'll continue. We now have the option of a chronological newsfeed, which is quite nice. That's something also to remember when you're marketing or when you're creating posts. So initially, Instagram was it's actually reverse chronological. Instagram was the newest first. You're going to see the newest first. And the further you go down, you're going to see the old stuff. Then it decided it was going to use its algorithm to think for us. And much like Facebook, it prioritizes friends and family and things that you like and your interests that you've shown interest to. And then they'll show you posts like that. They're going to be more, the more stuff you engage with, they'll show you more posts like that or posts from people like that. All of a sudden, they've now given us the option to actually choose whether or not we have a chronological newsfeed. So if you don't like the fact that Instagram takes control, you're more than welcome to change it. But so can your audience members. So essentially, just keep posting lots and lots and lots. And now I'm going to have to go from the top because it doesn't make any sense if I go backwards. IGTV is now gone. One of the things to think about now is social media is about 98% video. And all of the platforms prefer video. They like video way more. So if you can do a video, something like from reels to stories to a long video, any of it, do it. And bearing in mind, you don't actually have to go through creating a video. If you're not a videographer, doesn't matter. You can do a flash through of all your different photos. So put a whole bunch of photos on there and just flick through them really, really quickly. You got a lovely video. People can see that session and how well that session turned out. So let's say you edited 20 images, you can show those 20 images in that, in that reel or that video, however you want to do it.
You can also do that on Canva as well, can't you?
Say again?
You can also do that on Canva, I believe, can't you? Create slideshows.
You can. Yeah, you can. I'm not going to lie, Canva and I have a very, very difference of opinion on how user-friendly their video parts and video editing should be. But yeah, no, it is. There is a lot you can do. You can do video editing on there. You can create a slideshow of them. There's loads you can do. You can even do it natively in Instagram. But anyway, so now IGTV is gone and it's just video, and they've amalgamated long and short video. So when you are doing your video, your longer video, it will only show 60 seconds preview on your profile. And then you just have to click into it. And from there, when they click into it, they can then see the rest of it, essentially. But it does allow you to choose what that preview is. Essentially, it's very similar to the TikTok thumbnail, which will give you that little flash of 2 seconds of what that video is about. And you then know what I could be interested and click on it. Now, this is a new thing. Instagram shopping has gone a little bit different lately with a lot of updates. But you can now go on and search and tag you can search tags for products. So let's say you want to look for a lady's handbag. You can literally put that in and Instagram will direct you to a shop with their products where you can buy it. Now, while this might seem great for people who make products per se, you can do that with photography easily. You could sell print packages, you could sell canvases, you could sell, all sorts of stuff that you could do. If you're into selling actual wall art and prints, then that will work brilliantly for you. And the nice thing about it is Instagram does tend to favor the small to medium businesses on that one too. So you're more likely to get seen. Oh, I went that bit too quickly. So that is essentially, I went a little bit too long, sorry, but that's essentially Instagram in a nutshell. There's obviously a lot more, but hopefully that has helped you somewhat. Obviously you can see my little bit of a selling bit there. I don't like to sell too much because I always think that that's it's against what I teach. I'm quite happy to answer any of your questions.
So if anybody wants to find out more, you go to the digitalculture.co.uk, and like you say, your courses now, your social media courses, which cover everything from, did you say video production as well, like getting yourself out on video and content?
Yeah, very much so. We'll show you video editing, obviously image editing, but also we're going to show you how to do it really, really quickly and not in the way a photographer does, so that you can actually get content out really quickly. The other thing I meant to mention is with your stories, we have so much that we can do compared to other people. Every time you location scout, share it to your stories or to your reels. Reels will be better. Do reels and then to stories or to video. Every time you're at a session, take a quick video with your clients. If you're at a wedding, as you walk into the reception, moments where you don't necessarily have to be taking a picture, you can be taking a quick look at, and people are really, your audience is going to be really interested in that because they're going to be going, oh, I could do that at my wedding actually. It's really interesting for people to see what you do and where you are, and you can use absolutely everything. Even while you're editing, you can sit there and do a reel of you editing. You can do those fast screen recordings where people watch what you do. I love doing that because I'm a really lazy photographer. I'm not an in-camera photographer. I like to sit with a bottle of wine and watch my programs and edit forever. And so it looks really great after this. Is a really mediocre photo turned really, really well. But yes, so essentially, yeah, we'll teach you everything you need to know from the ground up. If you are interested, it's an 11-week course, and you can just go to the digitalcult.co.uk and you can sign up there. It's really, really simple. And the course is, I'm not going to lie, it's quite fun. I'm a bit biased, but I like it. And it's very interactive too. So people can come on board and give you ideas of your business if you want. We all talk and we all chat and kind of bounce ideas off of each other too, which is nice.
So how is it? Is it delivered as an online course and you turn up once a week, or?
That's a very good thing to have mentioned. Yeah, it's a weekly course, so it runs for 11 weeks. It is all online because we deal with all sorts of people. I've taught some guy on a ship out in the middle of the sea. So none of it, you don't have to be there every Monday at 12 o'clock UK time. You can just watch it in the evenings by yourself if you need to. It's always nice to come to the live lessons, but you don't have to. Everything is online. The live lessons are done through Teams. So yeah, it's quite simple. Like I said, very interactive. And most people come out of that doing really well. In fact, I've not known a single person to bomb yet. So touch wood.
And then obviously, like you said, the cost. Yours is your business. The digital culture is all the profits go back into the British Forces Broadcasting Service. So for a similar course, you'd probably pay thousands anyway. So this is sort of like subsidised by the government anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. So the course itself is, if you're not connected to the military, it's $3.99 per person. If you are connected to the military, it's $2.99 per person, and that's all including VAT. Like Jeff said, it would be an absolute fortune anywhere else, and every single cent goes straight back into supporting military spouses and trying to help them, do their own businesses or get work, remote work, because social media marketing is something that they can really do remotely, as I can attest to. It's now raining outside, it's delightful. But yeah, have any questions popped up, Jeff?
Don't think no, it doesn't look like we've got any questions in the chat there. I'll just have a quick look over. No fresh questions. So if anybody does have any questions just before we finish, please do pop them in the chat. Connect with says on LinkedIn. You're on LinkedIn. You're on Facebook.
I'm everywhere.
And what's your website as well for your actual business website?
Well,
photography. Yeah.
So I've got two. So I feel quite bad saying that now because I'm all BFBSy, and now I can't ignore the question, so I shall do. So website is foreveronfire.co.uk. Although I'm in South Africa, I kept the UK extension. And for portrait and newborn and family photography, it is saysphotography.com.
Fantastic. So make sure you check out and connect with Sez both on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and if you do have any questions or you're interested in their program, that, as she said, it's going to be a lot cheaper than if you go to an independent company, because obviously this is a non-profit and the money goes back into the British Forces Broadcasting Services. So thanks again, Sez. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's great having you on board. And
thank you.
Like I said, if anybody has any questions, drop you a message. And thanks again for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been lovely. And I'm open for questions. If someone is struggling, I'm always happy to lend a hand, within or without the course.
Brilliant. And if you've just tuned in, or you only got the last bit of this, if you just go back to my hashtag creating successful photographers, you can rewatch the rerun right from the very beginning. So thanks again, guys, and probably see you next week. I think we've got blog writing coming up next week. Next Thursday, I'll be putting a post out about that later in this week, and that is going to be with Claire Bignell, the copyright expert. Thanks again, guys, and I'll see you again.
Thanks very much.